Hey guys, how you doing today? I am having one of these days. This is literally take 6. It's always been something, dude. There's always been something. So I just gotta crank this one out. It's got to happen. Part of it, honestly, is that I am just exhausted talking about Doug Ford. Like, I'm exhausted. I feel like it's all I do. It's all I talk about. It's like I'm so over it that I've got to keep going over and over and over on these points over and over and over again, but it's got to happen because we've got to drill into the populace. Like, please share these videos with your conservative friends and family. Please, we have to do something. Like, we've got to do something because Doug Ford is revealing, like, in large scale, massive, obvious, overt, completely right in front of our faces ways that what he is a part of is a large scale neoliberal capitalist death cult. They're not interested in helping people. They're not interested in any of this. They're just interested in looking like they're helping people, right? That's why they're constantly using this language of lockdowns, right? Like, we're gonna pull the switch, pull the handbrake, right? We're gonna create restrictions, all this kind of stuff. These guys are not doing anything, right? They're not doing anything. And really what they're doing, right, is they're taking a look at their owners, right, and their businesses and the system that we live in, which is neoliberal capitalism, and their fundamental question isn't how do we eliminate this virus from our society. It's how do we continue making money for our businesses. That's what they're fundamentally confronting. And you hear it over and over and over again. If you stand up and say we need a full-scale lockdown that completely shuts everything down with government supports to actually create delivery systems and things like this to provide shelter and to provide goods and services to people so they don't starve in the middle of this pandemic, while keeping everybody separate from one another because there's a disease going through, there's a virus going through that's causing people problems. You say this, and the first thing that any conservative is going to say is, well, what about the economy? As if this economy is something we're supposed to be salvaging in the first place, right? As if this economy is worth a goddamn in the first place, right? The entire structure is everybody go do all the work, right? And 10, 15 people are going to make all the money, right? While doing absolutely nothing and being completely pointless and being completely irrelevant in the society. Completely, like totally. This is the structure that we're trying to save. We're trying to protect a handful of worthless billionaires so that the rest of us can risk our lives distributing, like, lattes, right? Making sure that you get your Timmies. Like, our culture, our society has a mental disorder. It has, like, a disease that it isn't actually confronting, that it isn't actually attempting to confront, that we are so desperate to just keep working for an oligarch class that is actively going to abandon and destroy us. We're completely beholden to this idea that these guys should run the society and should control everything, that we're totally befuddled and blinded by the very, very small idea that, hey, maybe the people who do the work should actually own the enterprises. Maybe the people who do the work should actually be the primary beneficiaries and actually have decision-making power and actually make decisions for their own societies and their own cultures and their own communities. How's that for a thought? But we can't do that. We can't do that. It's got to be people who don't even live in the country of origin, right? Like, it's got to be people who don't live anywhere near the province, who don't live in the city, who don't live in your community, who have no idea what's going on, right? They just have the deed of property, right? That's all it is. And this is the society that we want. This is what we're trying to salvage. And in the salvaging of this worthless culture, this worthless society that can't even arrange itself to protect its own citizenry, right? Like, really think about this, guys. Like, really, really, really think about this. If there was an invading army, right? If the Nazis were coming, right? Full scale, full force, tanks, jets, like, coming to invade the city that you live in, right? And your governor or mayor or premier or whoever was ignoring the problem or was attempting to find solutions that still allowed the invading army to invade you, you would cease to believe that you lived in a civil society, right? You would look at this situation and you would say, oh, we just don't live in a civil society, right? Like, we are for sale and we are being sold out by our ruling class. But if it's a virus, right? If it's a virus and our governors and our premiers and our mayors are doing everything they can to ensure that the virus maximizes its impact while creating the sort of performance art of doing something, right? That's really what this is. That's really what we're looking at, guys. That the Doug Ford administration is creating performance art in large-scale, massive ways to perform as though he's interested in doing something. He's not interested in doing anything. He's not interested in helping you. He's interested in lining his own pockets. If you're one of these people that dump out of these videos around now, right, please leave a like, please leave a description, share this with your conservative uncle, share this with your conservative friends. We need to kill conservatism. It needs to be gone, right? What we are doing is a failed society, and it's obvious. We have 3,000 cases of COVID every single day now. We've got doctors pleading with the province to actually do something. We've got a medical community that is just going to be faced with mass-scale, large-scale PTSD at the end of this, right? Who are bearing the brunt of these impacts, while simultaneously we can't get sick days to people to do the most minuscule thing to actually help anybody, right? So what can you do, right? What can you do? You can join third-party, non-affiliated political movements, right? I recommend Socialist Action down in my description below. These are organizations who are politically active, but are not beholden to an established political party, right? Because if you take your $5 and you give it to the NDP, they're going to say thanks and then ignore you, right? They'll be like, okay, be sure to vote NDP, right? But then they won't do anything you actually say. And guys, like, this is how the province is acting amidst a like straight up life or death crisis. This is exactly how neoliberal capitalism is going to act for other issues. Climate change, right? This is exactly how they're going to act for climate change. This is exactly how they're going to act for any food shortages that come our way because we've been ignoring climate change this whole time, right? This is exactly how they're going to act for every single issue. Are we happy with that? Are we happy that when neoliberal capitalism is put to the test, its solution is, okay, you just go die, right? Because that's the ideology. If you are a free market capitalist, if you are a neoliberal capitalist who has been saying for the last 40 years, oh sure, we'll give all the money to the wealthiest people and then they'll reinvest it into society. Certainly they won't jam it into offshore accounts. Certainly they won't use it to bribe politicians, to bribe officials, to buy huge sections of land in order to completely withhold from the populace any goods and services unless they enslave themselves to us. Certainly none of that will happen. No. Obviously, if we give all of the money to a small group of people, they'll just give it all back to us, right? That's the insanity of neoliberal economics, right? It's based on nothing. It's magic. You're believing in a type of magical thinking. And ultimately what it is doing is it is collapsing the society back into a feudal structure. Instead of us being owned by like landholders in like a single parcel of land, we're owned by little kingdoms like Amazon, Microsoft, right? Like business kingdoms are the new empires, and we are just completely beholden to them. They can fire us at will. They can do what they want with us. They can wreck our lives at any moment, right? And because we've allowed these worthless middlemen to insert themselves into the middle of the process of getting goods and services, right? Like, and we're just letting them, right? We're just allowing them to do this. And meanwhile, we're just standing around constantly pointing. I'll point a finger at the conservatives and go, oh, boo conservatives. And then we point a finger at the liberals and go, oh, it's liberals. And we just go back and forth on the conservatives and liberals and pretend like they're not allies, right? They're completely allied with one another. And we just let it happen. Holy cow, there's a ton of people around right now, man. There's a ton of, if you've been noticing me, I've just been weaving all over the place because there's just gobs and gobs of people because there's nothing else to do, right? And this is the heartbreaking thing about this, is that we're going to keep doing this, right? This vaccination thing is going to fail because the new variant strands are coming in. The medical community has already declared that the variants have won, right? And as well as the neoliberal capitalist class is desperately interested to maintain their hold on the market in this way. They're not interested in eradicating this virus, right? They're not interested in eliminating it. They want it to stick around, right? If they can sell a new vaccine every single year, they will, right? And they're not interested in curing this thing. They're not interested in eradicating it, right? They want people to be scared of it. They want a desperate population. They want government contracts, right? So we're still going to be dealing with this thing like a year from now, years from now, right? Because our corporate owners, our capitalist class, right, our oligarchs, are not interested in doing anything about it, right? Their ideology is very simple. You do all the work, and if you die, that's fine. We replace you, right? It's very clear. It's very obvious. And yet we're supposed to buy into this idea that, oh, the conservatives, well, they're just doing what they can for the economy. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, what is actually wrong with you? You care more about the wealth of a billionaire class that's actively attempting to murder and abandon you than you do about the people who are being murdered and abandoned? I think that's despicable. I think that's actually despicable. And there are clearly a large segment of our populace who thinks this way. And there's just like a little part of me that has finally decided that, no, these people, like, while the result is evil, I think that they just might be fundamentally stupid, right? Like, think about the insurrectionists who went and invaded Capitol Hill, right? Murdered that police officer. Like, these guys filmed all of that, right? Imagine being so stupid that you're invading a Capitol building in order to murder people and take it over and overthrow the government, and you're gonna film it. You're gonna not have masks on or anything, and you're just gonna film it, right? There's your conservative voter right there, right? Somebody who's just like completely unaware that there are consequences to their action. Somebody who just like genuinely believes that all you have to do is work hard and pull yourself up by your bootstraps and everything will work out for you. Meanwhile, just like completely ignore the massive benefits that are handed to them, completely ignore the structural situation that people were living in. Ignore all of that, right? Ignore all of that. No, let chaos reign. That's how we have to organize this. That's how we have to structure it. We need to abandon this. It needs to go, right? Like, this whole structure of neoliberal capital needs to go, and the capitalists need to be shown the door, right? We need, and I'm not talking like, oh, can we please, sir, have like a livable wage? Can we please, sir, have just like this modest, like, stop negotiating with them. Show them the door. Say you no longer control any assets in this culture. Goodbye. And then we can actually rebuild the civil society from there. Okay, guys. Take 6. I made it. I made it to the end of this video. Holy cow. Good luck out there, guys. The These guys gaslight you. They're not investing money in the culture. They're spending money to gaslight you in order to maintain their prestige and their power so that they can sit around and do nothing. Of course they want you to feel bad about yourself. Of course they're trying to convince you that you're garbage. Of course they're trying to convince you that you're no good, right? Of course they're trying to convince you of that because they want you to do all the work while they do nothing. It's obviously what's up. So, you're wonderful. You're beautiful. You're doing really good stuff in the world. You're a special person. I love you. Good luck. We're gonna need it.